Are you listening? Damn. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Hello.
I know we're a little late. Just to let you guys know, my wife was getting off work. There was a tornado warning.
Here, let me scooch over.
You can't see me.
No, okay. There we go.
So our
Yeah, so we're running a few minutes late, but that'll
first and foremost, we wanted her to be safe. Is what
Yes.
I'm saying.
But that'll give some people a chance to join in. And remember, you guys can ask your questions in the comments section. I know that immigration topic for tonight is huge right now with a lot of people kind of uncertain of what's going on. So
And very touchy.
yes,
It's a sensitive subject.
absolutely.
But worthwhile topic. We have some experts that will be on, but we are back. Blasian Soul Podcast.
Yes.
This is some stuff that is near and dear to our heart because it has a lot to do with some of our family members as well.
Absolutely.
So let's just give a quick summary of what's been going on. So there's been a change in leadership as far as our president is concerned. And I think it's been like the first 50 days or 60 days. But a lot of people have been deported. A lot of people are worried about being deported. So let's find out what has changed. What do you have to be worried about? Those are the things that a lot of people are frightened, might be too harsh of a word, but concerned.
Yes. And it definitely is a legitimate concern, especially for situations like myself and a lot of my family members and colleagues. Yeah, nice to meet you, Linda. And so it's one of those things if you're new to this podcast and you're new to like my own background and my story as a Lao refugee, my situation, it has a lot to do with a lot of our Lao community where I was born like homeless in the refugee camp. And so some of us end up being born in Thailand, come to America, we are given a permanent residency. And then if you have records or anything like that, you could potentially get deported back to Laos, a country that you weren't even born in or stepped foot in some cases, right? And so that's kind of one of the topics that we wanted to discuss today, just so that you know your rights, just so that you ask those important questions, so that way you get some answers from professionals who are in the field day in and day out, and so they can at least give you some insight. So we wanted to introduce our guests for tonight. We're excited to have them. And I know that this tonight has been a much anticipated podcast. So I wanted to introduce you to Theresa Chanthaboury. She is an attorney, and she can briefly share a little bit about her background and what she specializes in. Tommy as well, Souravong, he's also going to come on here with us. I'm going to introduce them, as well as Angel, and Angel is a Lao influencer, so I will bring them on stage. All right.
I made it.
So Theresa and Tommy are attorneys. Somebody's
Just have the background.
somebody has a background.
Is it Angel? Is that from your? Do you have a phone on? Someone might have a phone on that's causing that
Yeah,
sound.
hold on.
Oh, okay.
Gotta turn off the Bluetooth.
Oh, okay, got it. Yep, okay. Let's see. All right. All right. So welcome, you guys. Thank you so much for, basically agreeing to coming on tonight, and I'm so happy that you're able to join us and help us with some insights.
You don't know how many people we contacted that were a little skittish about coming on, just from their professional standpoint. They thought that this was a very touchy subject right now. Thank you guys for coming on. It's awesome.
It is a touchy subject, and as I mentioned, this is meant to be positive only, right? Just somewhere where we can give. Your sound is on. Oh, okay. Thank you, Theresa. I'm gonna put in the microphone. Hold on. Can you grab that microphone there? Here, or I'll do it. Okay, keep talking.
Okay.
I'm gonna grab the microphone.
Yeah, once again, guys, there's a tornado here. My wife was driving home during that. We were trying to figure out whether or not she should pull over and do it in the car just to be safe.
Made it home.
Yeah, she did make it home. So that's something that
Mhm.
why we're kind of discombobulated a little bit right now. But I will say for the people who did send me the questions, whether it's social media messenger or email, I did receive those. Um, yes.
All right. Let's add the microphone.
So
Can
let
you,
me.
can you guys hear us?
Mhm.
Well, I want to say welcome home and congratulations.
Yes, for sure.
Yes, it is a, I don't want my, position, kind of a topic of discussion for the podcast because there's a lot of things that, as far as immigration, so people were concerned about that. But yes, I'm doing fine now. I'm doing better.
Hi, Heidi. We have Gail on here as well.
Oh,
And Linda. Linda sent us some questions, so we'll definitely answer that for you as well.
but let me give my opinion on this topic. But I am a citizen, um, but I'm a black man in America. So there are some things that I believe that I can kind of empathize with. And basically that I can give my viewpoint.
Nothing. You can keep talking.
Oh, okay. So let me say that um, as far as Trump as a president, did I vote for him? No. Um, do I believe we needed a change in leadership? Yes. Was I willing to give him a chance initially? Yes. Do I feel that he is making some very egregious mistakes in such a short amount of time? Yes. Do I believe the immigration status of a lot of our um, people in question? Um, we good?
Yeah, you can keep talking.
Okay.
Sorry.
With that said, I will say that do I believe we should just have open borders? No. Do I believe that there should be a process to go through for citizenship? Yes. Um, do I believe just grab and snatching is what I refer to what he's doing right now? Is that wrong? Yes. I don't believe you go by it that way. I believe there are appropriate ways that you can go through this, especially if someone has been here for years. If they have a family set here, I believe that there are um, emergency circumstances that you can go through for people. So, do I 100% disagree with everything that he's done thus far? No. Do I disagree with about 60-70% of it? Yes. So, you have an ally, and most African Americans, you do have allies in, because we understand when you feel like it's prejudice against you for the color of your skin, which a lot of people feel that this is stemming from. So that's my soapbox speech. And I guess we will get into introducing you guys and you guys kind of telling us.
A little bit about yourselves,
Yes.
and then tell us a little bit about yourself. So we'll start with Theresa. Theresa, can you introduce yourself and tell us what you do, a little bit about yourself, and
I am Theresa Chanthaboury. I am licensed to practice in the state of Illinois. I have been in the legal field for over almost 10 years now. I started off with my own practice where my emphasis was real estate planning, and immigration. My current role is I'm an assistant general counsel for EdTech Corporation. And within that role, I also do immigration for my employer. So there is employer-based immigration sponsorship. So that's a little bit about my professional background. And I've been on here before, so I talked about a little bit my personal background back then. So I'll let everybody. I'll let everybody. I won't take up too much time.
Awesome. Thank you, Theresa. We're glad to have you back.
Thank you.
All right, Tommy, tell us a little bit about yourself, Tommy.
All right. My name is.
Yes, he is old enough to be attorney.
Yes, he is.
All right. My name is Tommy Souravong. I graduated from law school in December 2022. Currently, I am licensed in the state of Wisconsin.
Okay.
Previously, I was working at a nonprofit in Central Illinois. I left that job in November 2024, and since then I've been job searching. So if anyone has any leads, I would be more than happy to send you my resume, and we can talk from there. And I think afterwards, if you want our contact information, I can share that as people want. So what I did in my previous position was I was working at a nonprofit. I mainly worked with children, unaccompanied minors, those who came to the U.S. without parents or family members.
Sure.
I worked with both detained and non-detained kids.
Wow.
For the detained kids, I would give them Know Your Rights presentations and then screen them to see what forms of legal relief they had available for them. For the non-detained kids, I worked a lot with filing asylum applications for them, and some of them also had what we call a special immigrant juvenile status, so I would help file applications for them as well. I've had one family petition that I was working on, and I also did a lot of pro se asylum workshops earlier on in my position, and currently based in St. Louis, Missouri, if anyone was wondering.
Awesome. That sounds like an interesting job, actually. Wow. Angel, where do you go? Okay.
I'm still here, but I just got bad connection. That's why.
No, we can hear you.
Can you? All right. It's mine. Wi-Fi goes on and off, so you guys, I'm going to be cutting off, and I'm still at the job site, so you guys are gonna have to bear with me.
All good.
No,
All
that's
good.
fine. That's fine.
That's
All
dedication.
right. So my full name is Kambeng Tepasan, and I was born in Laos, Bakse.
Mm.
We went to Sunobun, which is in Thailand, in 75 to 78. We came into the United States in 78. We landed in Indiana for we weren't there less than a year. Then we found out we had relatives in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. So we've been there ever since. And as my adult life, I've lived everywhere. But I have a regular job. Then I'm there every day. But at the same time, I don't know how would you categorize it, but I guess as of these last 4 or 5 days, an advocate for immigration, especially
Yeah.
for us Southeast Asians. The reason why is because I am on the list because of what
Mhm.
I am on the list because of my poor choices when I was young, which is I'll be 52 in May, so just add up those numbers, So I have a lot of knowledge. I don't have the education they have, but I have personal experience from being incarcerated with immigration. I have a lot of friends that are in the process, especially these last couple of days, and I'm gonna let everybody know now that I'm been advised not to talk about her case. So you guys got to respect that, even if everybody that is listening. You know, there's only two of us. It sounds like there's a whole team of us, but there's only two of us that's doing this, and we knew what we were getting into, and we knew the exposure we're gonna get. So it's overwhelming, but at the same time, we got progress that she will be getting released, but we don't know when because we dealing with the Lao government.
Right.
Okay, in America we have freedom of speech, but over there we don't.
Yep.
We have privacy laws over there. Over there they don't.
Oh, really?
Yeah. They so I mean it's just like you going to North Korea. They have no privacy over there. So I'm trying not to go off course because I get carried away, and
Absolutely.
it's been very overwhelming these past couple of days, and I don't mind because it's something positive, and it gives me a good profile if I ever get deported back, because I'm not going to stop. I will do this for everybody else when I'm back there, and anybody from any different countries that need our help, because we made bad choices as young when we were young. We came here
Exactly.
as kids. We
Right.
didn't know we was gonna predict the future when we got older.
Exactly.
We was gonna get locked up, you know.
Yep.
So with that said, I'll let others jump in, and that's pretty much what I am. And I cannot answer a lot of questions, so I'm gonna try to answer whatever I can. So let's move forward.
Right. Right. Yeah. No, I completely understand. And Teresa, do you mind kind of shining light on kind of what's new, what's changed, what's new currently with immigration right now?
I guess I want to start off by just wanting to make sure the audience understand, what we're talking about here, especially as for myself, is informational, educational purposes only.
Absolutely.
It's not legal advice. It's
No legal
please
advice.
consult your immigration attorney. This is very general in nature, and we don't. There's no specifics. And well, my goal here, my aim for this discussion is to inform and educate the audience about what's going on. So starting off with your question, what are the new changes? Well, it depends where we want to start, because some of the laws are already on the books. It just
Right.
comes down to discretion and comes down to enforcement. I'd like to compare some of the laws on the books, like to, let's say, jaywalking. It is on the books, but do people always enforce it? Do people,
Gotcha.
but they can't. So then
Got it.
sometimes people are thinking, oh no, where did this come from, left field or whatever? But some of the laws have already been on the books. And then some are, like you spoke up before, that they're trying to invoke and they're trying to make it fit. They're avoiding, due process with those executive orders, to where they're trying to pick up people and then label them as such, so then they can bypass due process, because everybody who's in this country gets due process, and due process is your day in court. Because for example, the whole airplane that's going to El Salvador, they're trying to do that under the cloak of the Aliens Enemies Act and invoking them as they're a gang, they're invading, using that language because that's usually invoked during times of war. So when they're doing that and not giving them due process, we don't know who's on there. There could be citizens on there. That's why people need due process. If you're actually getting rid of criminals, which no one is against, then give them due process and give them us a list and say who's on there, and that shouldn't be a problem.
Right.
So so those types of things. So if we could get your questions and get more specific, because
Sure.
some of the stuff is just, I don't want to bore people to death with the laws and the rules. I just want to get to the meat of everything people really want to know about.
We have a couple of questions that came in, and Marcelo's going to read them to you here.
All right, what do we have here?
From me? Did I text it or?
Yes.
No. It's probably your messenger. Oh, right here. Okay. Here we go. Okay. There. You want me to read it?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So let's see.
And let me just say that my thought on going into schools, going into churches, taking people out of there, that just seems inherently wrong. Just from a humanity standpoint. Now, do I want to close the borders so that we know who's coming over? Because America has a lot of enemies, whether warranted or unwarranted. I would like to know who's coming in the country. Does that mean I want to go to that extent? No. But this is a Canadian citizen.
Oh, yeah.
Um,
Okay. So we have, I'm a Canadian citizen, born and raised, and I have a resident permanent green card holder of 10 years living in Massachusetts. Will it be a good idea for me to apply for a US citizen? But I also want to keep my Canadian citizenship. So I guess I need to apply for dual citizenship. If yes, is it okay that I can still travel between the US and Canada while processing my application? When I travel to Canada and re-enter to the US border, do they have the right to detain me for questions? What should I do if that happens? Anybody?
Yeah. Well, I can't speak on the specifics of their case and dispense any legal advice. But I mean, we could speak on the difference between the green card versus citizenship, the privileges, the pros, the cons, or whatnot. Obviously, holding a citizenship is going to provide more privileges and rights to you. The only difference between a naturalized citizen and a natural born citizen is that you can't run for presidency, the office of the presidency or the vice president, and you can be denaturalized. That's the only difference. But when you're holding a green card, there's a lot of conditions that's attached to that. Now they didn't used to in the past, but now they have expiration dates, and now every
Oh,
time you have to
wow.
go you have to go renew it. You possibly have to have an interview and might be a new evaluation. So that's always a chance every time you enter to that immigration office or see an immigration officer. Those are the chances, and then they review what you've been up to. And if you're a green card holder, if you do anything, they consider in the INA moral turpitude. Moral turpitude is a general term where it encompasses anything you do that they consider as immoral, dishonest. So what do you think can fit under that umbrella? A lot of things. Stealing a bag of chips when you're 12, that is dishonest. So
Wow.
technically, according to the rules, if they deem that, you possess moral turpitude, which you don't want, I know it's an interesting word, but yeah, you
Right.
don't want that. But there are cases where people have had DUIs and they're considered deportable because they were dishonest. It was immoral. It could be framed that way. So when I come back to the point where I said it comes back to discretion and enforcement. You could see the same case. The DUI guy gets deported, but then a guy with a low felony, because of the way the immigration judge is deciding to use his discretion, that could turn out very differently. So, but
Goodness.
technically, if they have deemed that you have moral turpitude, you are deportable. Whether you're actually removed or deported is a whole nother process that we can't. We don't have a crystal ball to say how it's really going to work out. So when some people come into an immigration attorney's office, they want answers. They want answers. There's no clear answer. And it all
Right.
depends who you're in front of as well.
Now, what
No.
if it's something as simple, well, simple in our opinion, as, like you said, getting a DUI or having, a lot of people consider being an alcoholic a disease as opposed to something morally wrong. Can they interpret that however they would like as
Exactly.
far as
Oh,
deportation?
wow. That's
If you have
interesting.
if you have mental health issues, that could be
Oh
framed
my
as such.
goodness.
So I'm not trying to be an alarmist. I
Of
just want
course.
people to understand the possibility of such, because people like to walk around and think, oh no, it won't happen to me.
Not me.
Or who would do that? But I'm just saying it's possible. But you could be in front of a particular person, a particular judge, and they want to exercise their discretion, and it doesn't work out for you. And it's a possibility. That's what I want people to know.
Wow. That's crazy
Tommy,
because, uh-huh.
do you have an opinion on that,
Yeah.
Tommy?
Yeah.
No, no, I was agreeing with everything Teresa was
Oh,
saying.
Yeah, no, I think that's a valid point because, like a lot of our like Lao community, right? Like they get pulled over, they get DUIs, and then some of them may not have their citizenship yet. And they may think, oh, it's not a criminal case. It's just a DUI, but you're like listening to you, it sounds like if they did have a DUI or something, depending on who they're in front of, if I'm hearing correctly, it could go south like real quick.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Oh my goodness. Okay. I mean, though these are things that are important, especially with our community, right? Because they're not very well informed in some of these matters, and they could be caught left field with it, right?
Yeah,
The
that's why I
second
wanted to. I'm sorry. No, that's why I wanted to
question,
highlight the differences and the
yeah,
pros and the cons.
yeah.
Like you said earlier, you wanted to encourage people to get citizenship. I'm not here to
Mhm,
tell them to get whatever. I'm just
mhm.
pointing out like these are your advantages, disadvantages, and it's up to you what you want to do or whatever is going
Absolutely.
on in your life. You do what you need to do, but just understand this is these are the things that you have to put up with, or these are the conditions, and just wanted you to be aware of that.
Angel, what do you think of the, I guess, the lack of foundational or concrete rules right now? Um, Kind of what Teresa is saying is things can be interpreted however
Mhm.
the acting official that you're in front of interprets. And that would scare me a little bit.
Especially getting punished for something years ago that you may have grown out of, or something 20 years ago, like you're getting punished or scared, walking around scared because of something that you made a mistake when you're barely an adult yet. So that could, yeah.
And I want to be honest about this, and like I tell everybody, when it comes to politics, I do not talk about politics. I might join in and just add my little 2 cents in certain things. But as far as going back, I've been here this is 47 years, and I was 5 when I came.
Mhm.
So we went through what, 6, 7 presidents. I
Mhm.
remember sitting watching Ronald Reagan getting shot, President Ronald Reagan getting shot, and I still don't remember. We were just little kids watching TV. I just remember my sponsors crying. Didn't
Mm.
know why. We were clueless. Still didn't understand what yes and no mean, at that time. This
Mhm.
is 79 when we came, and it happened like in 80, 81, I remember.
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
just, I have little memories, but I do have a lot of memories of other things. But to, to what Theresa said, it's
Mhm.
true, everything that she has mentioned. And I'm going to say this for me. If you've
Yeah.
been here this long, go and get your citizenship. You get a
Mhm.
lot of advantage. That's why I'm glad I was invited to come here to encourage everybody,
Mhm.
because there's a lot of back and forth with what's happening. Oh, if you've been here 25, 30, 40 years, why did you become a citizen?
Mhm.
You're not walking in my shoes. You was not 17 years old when you went to prison. So that's
Mhm.
my answer.
Right.
You know,
And do they, so what are the stipulation for citizenship? Like, do they not let you get your citizenship if you have anything on your, background or anything like that? But so what?
so once you become a felon, you're a felon
Mhm.
until you get it expunged. Expunge mean
Mhm.
you would have to go through the governor to get it, the governor of that state to get it, your record erased, meaning you have to be off
Okay.
probation, parole, you don't owe no state taxes. Basically, you have a clean record. You have to present that to a judge and show that you've been working these past 10, 15 years. Anything is possible. I've helped
Mhm.
I've helped guys got the green card back. You
Mhm.
can get your green card back. It all depends on your record, how well you do, what kind of crime you got.
Mhm.
If it falls under the Patriot, I really can't say that word
Yeah.
T with the double R's, because you get
Mhm.
flagged and banned for things like that.
Right.
And when you get in that category, you would never become a citizen, and you will be sent to whatever country they want
Wow.
to send you to. So
Yeah,
you're
sure.
done. But as far as my case and anybody else, it's possible to get your green card back, and
Mhm.
it's possible to become a citizen.
Okay.
Out of
Well,
the out of the 8 guys that I've helped that got their
Mhm.
green card back, 3 of them are citizens now.
Oh,
I
good.
don't say their name because that's the agreement that we say
Of
that we
course.
did.
Yeah.
If you guys want to say you guys got your green card back or your citizen, you
Mhm.
go ahead, but just don't mention who helped you guys,
Right.
right.
because I can face any type of penalties they could come up with. Like I said, I don't like to talk much about politics, but with this administration, they're pushing Laos. They're putting a lot of pressure on Laos to take people back.
Mhm.
And I just want everybody to know that Laos has not agreed to
Mhm.
anything.
Mhm.
There's people out there saying that, well, that's what Angel said. I
Mhm.
said, no, please go watch my video again. you know,
They'll say
I did
whatever.
not
People.
say, I did not say any of this. I just said she's a prime example
Yep.
of this is America. We can do whatever the F we want to do. Can we swear?
Yep. Yeah. So when
Okay.
you talk about she, I know the audience that are just chiming in, they may not know like who she, when you're referring to she, I mean, they can watch the news and they'll see what's
I
going
can say her
on, but
name.
yeah, okay.
When I'm talking about the young lady, I'm talking about the young Hmong lady from my hometown of Milwaukee,
Mhm.
Wisconsin, that got deported back. So I cannot say anything else about it, but
Mhm.
I know she was misrepresented, and otherwise she had signed something that she didn't know,
Absolutely.
and apparently I do not know anything else about that. I was
Mhm.
tagged. I woke up in my messenger and all my platforms like, "Hey, help this girl!" And
Yeah.
well, at least let me brush my teeth and do my research first, you know. Well, she's already in Laos, this and that. I said, okay, let me do my research. I can't believe
Yeah,
everything I hear. So
sure.
yeah, her name is Ma Yang. She has a big family in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. I know some of them personally,
Mhm.
and other answers that everybody wants to know. She will be released, but we don't know when. She'll come on live and let you everybody know, you know. And
Yeah.
I forgot what I
Okay.
was gonna say, but go ahead. I'll wait.
Well, my question is, even in her situation,
Hmm.
it's like a catch-22 because um, yes, you're able to get your green card back, you're able to become a citizen,
Hmm.
but if you're here illegally or you have a felony on your record, then that can pop up and you could be turning yourself in to basically be deported, um, depending on how the circumstances is. So,
Hmm.
um, it's kind of like, do I tell on myself so I can try to go the correct path? Or, you know, am I frightened that if I do go in and turn myself in and say,
Hmm.
I want to go through the correct path, they say, no, there are, we did have a process as
Hmm.
far as people that are going the correct way for citizenship.
Right.
So,
Well,
um,
from
oh,
my
go ahead.
from my experience and from everything that's going on
Hmm.
now, if you came here, if I sounded FOB, if you came here illegally, if you come here illegally,
Yeah.
it's gonna be very hard for you to do anything.
Right.
Now, if
Really?
you, yeah, I mean, you came here illegally, like you crossed the border. I'm
Hmm.
not pointing out no group of people. Right now, everybody's crossing the border from different countries, you know.
Right.
Sure.
But
Right.
I'm just speaking on the stuff that is going on now.
Yeah.
Maybe
Well, I
back in the
do.
70s and 80s, it was easier. But
Hmm.
everything that's
Right.
going on now, it's just harder. It became here illegally,
Right. While
you
I
know.
do
Teresa,
agree
did you
with you, coming, illegally, undocumented, without status is not the appropriate way to go. I wanted to chime in what you said earlier when you say, I just didn't want any misinformation as far as if you go get your record expunged, you do all of those
Mhm.
things, it never disappears for immigration purposes. It will always come up.
Really?
Yes, it will still pop
Well,
up.
it will always come up, and that will always be weighed. Like I said, it goes back to discretion, it goes back to enforcement, it goes back to who you're in front of. I've said examples of cases where someone with a felony, they got their citizenship. Someone with the, with
Mhm.
less than, got deported. So
Yeah,
I don't want to give people some, this
Yeah.
hope, or, just kind
Yeah.
of be realistic and just
yeah,
be prepared
absolutely.
and prepare yourself, and not
Yeah.
just to think, oh, well, he told me if I just got everything expunged or cleared off my record, but for immigration purposes, it's never gone. Just want people to know that.
Wow.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Interesting.
that's true. That's very true. And you know, like me, I wanted to ask you guys ahead of time, like, what are we gonna talk about, so I could be prepared for these
Right.
questions. And it's
Hmm.
true what she says. All that takes time to
Hmm.
process. It takes years to get all this back, you know,
Right.
because you
Sure.
have to get
Yeah.
off, you have to be off parole and all that, and it
Hmm.
takes years. I know a guy who took 10 years, and
Right.
Everything's a process, and it will always be in your record. And and I can honestly say I know a Cambodian guy that got deported back for
Mhm.
3 DUIs.
Mhm.
The only
Right.
person he hurt it was himself
Wow.
by getting behind the
Yeah.
wheel. He didn't hurt nobody, but he got behind the
Yeah.
wheel 3 times.
Sure.
When Cambodia agreed to accept, he was one of those guys that went back. It's sad, but I don't
Yeah.
know any,
Yeah.
you
That's the
know,
point I wanted to drive home was the fact that it will be on your record, it will be weighed, and yes, your experience in the past has gotten you but it's also a different climate, it's a different administration, it's a different set of
yeah,
eyes, it's a different set of bias. I just want people to know the law is the law and what it is, and when people apply it, just be prepared. Don't think like, oh, so and so, it was fine for them, it's going to be fine
Yeah.
yeah,
for me. So I
Right.
want people to
Right.
be realistic, and that's my goal,
Yeah.
is to educate and inform, and you can do what you want with that information, but don't just think that, oh, well, they got through or it worked for
Yeah.
them. And then
yeah,
there's
Right.
also being a naturalized citizen, as I've spoken of before. Denaturalization is still on the table. It's a high bar to denaturalize somebody, but it can happen. The
Wow.
only natural born citizens cannot be stripped of their citizenship.
yeah,
You're kidding.
Yeah,
So I'm not
yeah, it's
I
safe
said
true.
that.
either. I have my
Yes.
citizenship. Bye, babe. Come meet me in
Well,
class.
I just want
Well,
people to know
Yeah,
that
no,
it's
it's great
possible. Doesn't mean
information.
that it's going to happen to
Right.
them.
Right.
They're an upstanding citizen. They're doing what they're supposed to do. But do know when you're making decisions,
now Linda did ask how long does the process take for U.S. citizenship? I know it can range depending on your circumstances and what's
Mhm.
happening. Well, what do you guys think of someone said the $5 million rule, which means that Trump has said if you have $5 million, then you can streamline your way to citizenship.
Mhm.
To
Yeah,
be honest, we already have that on the books. It's like the EB2 is a type of
Really?
visa. We already have it's an investment visa, and there's a threshold. So it's kind of already on the books, but he's kind of saying it the way he says it. Oh, you
right,
just give me money and you could come in. But there is a
right,
process already in place for someone who's
Gotcha.
willing to invest in the, open up a business and invest in the United States. And they do get
Really?
a pathway to the green card and so on. So it's not
Wow.
completely new, but the way
Okay.
he's trying to do it, it's like, give me money and you're good to go. I mean, he's just saying that. Who knows what he really means? But
mhm,
there's something like that already
Oh,
available
thank
for
you
people.
for explaining that. We
Yeah.
have another question here. So if your parents ain't citizens, but you was born here in the same boat, are you, wait, here are in the same boat for deportation?
No,
Well, natural born citizens, he or that person was born here, so they have natural born citizen, like the best citizenship, if you will.
Right.
Right.
Okay.
There's
Oh,
tiers to
wow.
this, okay? So then the parents who are not citizens, I
Hmm.
don't know their particular, but we've talked
Sure.
about the green card and
Yeah.
citizenship, the pros, the
Okay.
cons, the privileges, and the advantages and disadvantages. So
Hmm.
hopefully they were there for that. But if not, I mean, being a citizen is a better deal. Let's keep
Yeah.
it that way.
Yes.
mhm.
And
Wow.
to
Okay.
answer the other person's question about citizenship process, usually
How long?
it could take about 7 months to like 12 months. But given this time, they're, with the whole firing of immigration officers or
Mhm.
judges or whatnot, it's just everything's backlogged. Asylum
Right.
Mhm.
cases, all of these cases are backlogged. So
Oh,
I work
wow.
I work for my company and I do, perm applications, H-1B visas and stuff, and those are all pushed back. So we don't know.
work
Oh, wow.
permits.
So
And I just
Tommy,
want to add,
yes,
yeah,
I was gonna,
they
yeah,
do
go
have
ahead.
visa backlogs that you can check. They get
Mhm.
updated every month. Depending on the country, your wait time could be very different. So it
Yeah.
varies a lot based on country. And
Yeah.
even in my
Yeah.
former line of work, the asylum applications, for
Yeah.
those who
Now,
Yeah.
had
let me
applied, they're
They
still
have
let me
the
waiting.
I'm sorry.
It's what they call on the State Department website. It's called the priority date. So whatever the date that they got your application on there, it has a priority date. And depending on what country you are, you'll go check what your priority date is up, and then you can decide. And countries like, well, before what's going on now, it was India, China, Philippines, and Mexico. Their wait time is so long because they want to deter people coming from there because there's so many already, and other countries. But now probably other countries are added onto that, and that wait time, their priority date is just pushed back. Some people are waiting 10, 12, 15 years for their priority date, and that's just a priority date. It doesn't mean that you get anything. You just get to an interview. So.
Right. Wow, this is so interesting. So Tommy, you have mentioned something interesting to me too. Your last position you were in, that must have been a pretty interesting job, like having to work with the children. What was that like?
I mean, my dad came to the U.S., from Laos as a refugee when he was maybe in middle school or high school. So, I mean, he didn't really tell me his story growing up. It was like one of those, I'll tell you more when you're older, but that never happened. So
Right.
I feel like in a way, working with these kids, it kind of made me understand a little bit more of the things that my dad might have gone through back then, even now. He's almost 60.
Wow.
And yeah, for kids, it's a lot of the times I could only work in the afternoons because that's when these kids were out of school and free to have meetings or calls. So that was interesting. Majority of my clients were all Spanish speakers, so there was a lot of interpreters involved. I did notice in immigration, we're working as an immigration attorney. If you speak the same language as your clients, you'll be able to connect with them way more naturally than if you don't.
Right.
So, for example, even though I'm not fluent in French, I once did have a French client, and the French client was just so happy to talk with me, even though I had trouble understanding some of the things I was saying, and vice versa. But
Sure.
that was I think one of my most memorable experiences from my former position. So.
Wow.
No one's giving out legal advice.
Right.
So no one can say, well,
You're good or not.
good or not.
But in general,
if you were born here, you're a
if you're born
natural
here,
born citizen.
you're better
So
than us.
Now, let me ask you, some people are being streamlined. We were discussing that. Some people are considered northern Africans, which is the same thing that Elon Musk is. They are being considered terrorist acts are being done to them. So if you are Northern African, you can be considered, trying to think of what would be the term, but you can be streamlined to come over here. How does that resonate with you guys, that there are people who are actually being killed or being jailed in their countries, but some of these guys who are rich and would like to get over here, and I use Northern Africa just because that's been in the news lately, but they are more well-to-do, more affluent, and there's a process for them to be considered endangered, or I don't want to say there have been terrorist acts against them, but you guys have seen what I'm talking about as far as Northern Africa, and how they're saying that because of the situation in their country, they should be able to be streamlined over here as opposed to people who are being hurt and killed in their countries, and they still have to go through this long, drawn out process. So, first of all, have you guys heard about this North African um, ability to streamline due to what's going on in their country?
A little bit.
There's, oh, you want to go?
No, I heard a little bit about it.
Yeah, I'm not super familiar with that, but there's a lot of moving parts there. Often, well, in this climate, in this administration, if Trump says he wants to bring someone, he can streamline them and just say yes. And that's nothing that they don't have to. But what it seems like you're describing is asylum seekers, because they're, risking prosecution from war-torn countries. And that's what the people at the south of the border that they're coming in, they're also asylum seekers.
Yes.
Because they're escaping Honduras, El Salvador, Venezuelan, where there's gangs and stuff like that. So they're also petitioning for asylum. But the problem is there's so many, there's not enough judges and all of that. So it's bottlenecked and it's, backlog. So that's why their decision to put them in detention camps, because they can't process them on time, or some of them are just trying to go through it as fast and deport them. I mean, so I can't speak on those specific cases, but that's kind of what an asylum seeker does. It's because they're escaping prosecution or some kind of torture or war-torn countries.
Gotcha. So I have another question from an audience. My cousin got a visa and permit to work in Canada recently, and he is there now. He would like to visit me here with my parents. My parents are Canadian citizens, but my cousin is Lao citizen with a Lao passport. Can he still come visit me in the US? I know Laos is in the orange list. Not sure if he can cross over here.
Okay. The question is, she lives here?
So let me see. My cousin got a visa and permit to work in Canada recently, and he's in Canada now. So I guess his cousin in Canada would like to visit her in the US.
Well, that person would have to get a visa to come into the US.
Okay.
So whatever type of visa they want to get or qualify for, they need to make sure they speak to an immigration attorney, because certain visas have certain restrictions and you don't want to violate those. They'll be stripped and you'll be called undocumented, illegal. So don't do that.
Wow. No, please don't do that. So one of our audience said, my alien card says permanent alien. So that is not really true then, right? You can be non-permanent with the alien card, with the green card.
Yes, despite what that says, it, like we said earlier, it can be taken away.
Yeah. Because even I was blown away with
Because
the whole citizenship.
Yeah, because when they say permanent resident means you permanently can live here unless you do something.
Oh, there's
so
this
you forgot the
disclaimer.
comma. They just didn't realize there's a comma there.
Right.
So that the reason why they say permanent is also because there's other visas, there's other statuses. Your status is green card permanent resident. The other ones are temporary residents. So that's the distinction that they made. But what it really means is permanent comma.
Got it. Can immigrant lawyers help win the case? Keyword permanent. I don't know what that means. Oh, I don't know what that means.
I'm not sure either.
But you can only help clients in Illinois, or can you help immigration anywhere?
Well, because immigration is federal law is based in federal law, so I can help anybody in the United States.
Same as you, Tommy?
Yes, same as me, but
Oh,
I don't want to get too much into the job market right now, but it's
absolutely.
one
Yeah,
trend that's
sure.
been on the rise in this recent administration is a lot of jobs, immigration attorney jobs, despite it being a federal area, they are wanting attorneys to be licensed in state. So, for
Got
example,
it.
a lot of Chicago jobs now want attorneys to be licensed in Illinois or sitting for the bar.
Got it.
But that's just a trend that's been going on with the recent administration. It may change in the future, it may not, but
Sure, sure.
And this is, I mean, I know we have a lot of Asian guests. These were the people that were willing to come on and discuss this hot topic. But Black folks, we are watching. We are watching this whole thing evolve and where it's turning. Because even though we're natural citizens, um, as Theresa said, things can change overnight. Um, so, be we want to see how this goes,
Yeah.
how this matriculates down, so that we can either support and help where we can, or be on the lookout if we think that this is going to other um,
Mhm.
immigrants. So we are watching, we are allies, we're helping as well. Um, so we are trying to help facilitate, I guess, a neutral thought process as far as citizens go. If we're citizens and we're supposed to be so um, powerful in our ability, then we want to help you guys, but we want to know how and what's changed thus far. So that's why a lot of people are asking. If you take a look at um, some of the protests, there are multiple colors involved, from black to Asian, um, and you see these different people, and you're like, well, the government isn't going after them. Why are they protesting? Reason why we're protesting is because sometimes no one helped us when we protest and we felt there was injustice going on. So um, in that same vein, we don't want to be late to the party.
So if I get deported, you coming to live in Laos?
I already told your dad we going down there.
Because my dad lives there now, so you get to go hang out with him.
Yeah,
You know,
so I know that we talked about permanent residency and a little bit about undocumented individuals. I don't know if you wanted to talk about that. I know
yes.
Marcella
Yes,
sent me some questions to
sure.
ponder, and we could talk about obviously you're here undocumented,
Yes.
and usually in the past, ICE usually do not detain anybody who's, even though they're undocumented, and put them in detention without a criminal record. But there's nowhere
Oh,
in the books that says you can't.
wow.
So they're doing it now. And
Okay.
just remember that. But I
Gotcha.
mean, just know your rights. If you're in your house, like people are doing,
Mhm.
the ICE are doing these raids. When they show up to
Mhm.
your house,
Mhm.
you have rights. Your right to remain silent. People can do that.
Mhm.
Yes. Not the Miranda rights, but these rights. Just and stay calm and have a plan. Talk to your attorney, because if you get swept up, you don't have time to go make a plan and say, "Oh, I should have my kids. What am I going to do?" Just get that ready to go now.
Plan
Keep
ahead.
emergency phone numbers. Your
Wow.
identification. Have an immigration attorney that you can call if you need it. And when ICE comes to your door, do not open the door. Ask to see a warrant, and a warrant not signed by ICE, signed by a judge. It has to be, because they'll sign it themselves and put it up against the door. And
Oh, wow.
they've
That's
done
not
that.
illegal?
That's not, it's not a valid warrant. Whether you want to say it's legal, illegal, it's another discussion. But they have been doing that, and it might be a scare tactic, but that signed warrant from an ICE agent is not sufficient.
Okay, and I want to add to what Teresa's saying. In my previous line of work, sometimes my clients would get, notice of court hearings, notice to appear, that's a document. Sometimes it would be signed by an ICE officer or something. If anyone is, thinking that they get this type of appearance to go to court, I would say you should check with the immigration court. So if you're in Chicago, check with the court, call them, email them, just to make sure, because sometimes you don't want to, end up going to court and then you don't have court. And even worse, you don't want to miss court, because that is automatic grounds for deportation. So just anyone who, may be facing a court hearing, or, that may come up, just know that.
Jeez.
Yeah, anytime you miss a hearing, a court hearing or interview is considered abandonment of whatever it is you're trying to do automatically.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Andrew said, can I give up my citizenship if I was born here?
You can.
There you go, Andrew. Go live in Laos too.
But you can't.
Let me get it.
You can't transfer it to someone.
No, it's not transferable, but you have every right to give it up if you want to.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank goodness my parents was the one that got our citizenship when I was in 3rd grade. So I already had it since we were little. Probably you too, Theresa, your parents.
They have this really silly box you have to check, and my mom forgot to check it. So then I had to wait. So I had to wait until I was 18, old enough to get it myself. So me and my sisters, we were kind of like, well, why didn't you,
Yeah.
Yeah.
You forgot. No.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
And I wanted to add in about what Theresa said. What we've been doing these past couple of days is to tell everybody to prepare themselves. We didn't want to put nobody in a panic, which they already did themselves. When they hear the word deportation, when they hear the number 4,800 that's on the list, everybody had a heart attack.
So how do you know you're on the list?
If you went through the immigration process like we did, being detained by ICE, and then you have to go through the court system. When you get detained by ICE, either they detain you upon your release after you're doing your sentence. You get to the ICE processing place, which could be anywhere. They'll ask you 2 questions, and they have to. The question they're going to ask, do you want to sign this? And if you sign this, this is what's going to happen. You get to go home in 90 days. I'm speaking on in 1999.
Sure.
So I'll fast forward. Back then, they still do the same. They ask you 2 questions. Would you like to sign this? If you sign this, you're giving up your rights. The rights that you're giving up is written in black and white. So they give you time to read it. You could take 3 days to read it if you want, but you have to know everything you're signing. So you sign, you go home faster than not signing it. So if you don't sign it, we're gonna hold you longer until the judge decides what they want to do. In my case, I sat 3 years with immigration because I wanted to fight it. I wanted to tell them that my dad fought alongside you guys front line.
Like her dad.
Yeah, exactly.
I tried to bring as much evidence that I have, but there's no birth certificate of us. There's only that black and white picture of
Right. Yeah, we all have those.
That's our birth certificate. That's our ticket to wherever around the world. There's no record of my dad being in the army. There's no, unless you held a high position, like lieutenant, a high position. Let's just say that.
Right.
I couldn't present all that. I could only answer that. And they would ask me, who did I get all these answers from? I said, from everybody that came from the motherland. My
Right.
uncles, my dad, the conversations they had, the questions I had. I would have never knew this if a veteran didn't
Yeah.
tell me himself in the third grade. I would have never had these questions. So that's why I liked it. History, everything to do with our culture, the Southeast Asian culture. And then well, not as an adult, I was still 17 that got waved
Right.
into an adult. I got to experience everything that I'm going through now and everything that we're talking about.
Right.
That's why I wanted to let people know that we're just trying to prepare you guys.
Yeah.
There's nowhere in my video that I said, yep, they're coming to get everybody, go hide under the tree. No, just prepare yourself,
Yeah. Yep. Just like
have
you.
lawyers ready. There's 800 numbers that I put up. There's a lot of Lao association, Hmong associations, you know, like I try to tell everybody, and there's people that try to correct me. Well, how come you don't mention Hmong? How come you don't mention Kamu?
Right.
When I mention, if you're from Laos,
It's
it
Laos. It's
means
everybody.
all of us, all
Exactly.
49 ethnicities. I'm not going to sit here and spend a year naming 49 ethnicities, you know what I mean? I
Exactly.
can't.
Yeah.
If you're
Sure.
from Laos, this pertains to all of
To you.
us,
Exactly.
so I try to use my words wisely so people understand. So
Yeah.
like I said, we just trying to prepare everybody of what's
You want to
going
answer
on.
this one, Teresa?
Let me
Or
just say that
Tommy?
we are getting a lot of
Questions coming
questions.
in.
Some questions we feel are appropriate, some questions we feel are inappropriate, so we're not going to ask those. So if
And we only have time for a couple more questions anyway, so I apologize. But Teresa and Tommy can go on here and look at the questions, and they can possibly answer that for you guys directly. But I have one more that we can ask or answer. Hello, I'm on a final order of deportation to Laos since 2003 because of 2 felonies. I have been righteous ever since. Is there a way to withhold my removal or at least get my green card back?
Since it seems like I answered a lot of questions, we'll let Tommy, take a
Okay.
stab at
Yeah,
that.
Tommy, you want to take a stab at that one?
Unfortunately, in my previous position, I didn't really deal much with green card or getting people green cards or renewing green cards, so I don't want to give you any wrong advice.
Okay.
here's a few. What of how does the invocation of the Alien Enemies Act, and we kind of touched on that, for undocumented immigrants from specific countries. So basically, we are getting into some confrontations. I won't say war, but confrontation with other countries. Now, if we are in the process of kind of, I won't say being at odds, but having a disagreement with another country, does that can that change your immigration status? So let me give an example. Um, there is right now a war going on with Russia and Ukraine. What if we decided, or something happened, or we felt that we are not a ally of Ukraine anymore? We've never been a ally of Russia. But if it looks like we're getting to that point where we will cease being an ally with Ukraine. Um, does that mean Ukrainian people have to be frightened because they were good here now because of certain changes? That might change. Do you guys have any
Input on that?
insight on that?
I got this. I think.
Come on, Tommy.
Okay. Okay. So there's a such thing as temporary protected status (TPS) that some people, asylum seekers, get that. Some people who are eligible for asylum can also be eligible for that, but like asylum, TPS, it's usually a list of countries. Sometimes countries can be added and removed. I forgot how often this list gets updated, but I know for many years Venezuela was on that list. But then people from that country were able to get temporary protected status. But then I think sometime last year it was taken off. So we were getting asylum, people wanting to apply for TPS and asylum from Venezuela, but they weren't able to because there was something that said if you arrived in the U.S. from Venezuela before, after a certain date, you wouldn't be eligible for it anymore. I know Haiti is another example of a country that was on the list. I don't know. It just depends. So, I mean, I didn't really deal much with Ukraine at my previous position, but it's just the status of it changes very so often. So you just need to keep aware. And look at the law. It also depends on when you got admitted to the U.S.
I'll chime in on that. Like he said, starting off with TPS, temporary protective custody, and he spoke about Haitians. The Haitians, they're eating the dogs. Anyways, on a side note,
Oh my goodness.
because it's an order that's an executive order, it can be removed, which Trump has done for them. They weren't set to expire until I don't know how many more months, but he's moved that date up. So they're going to be without status very soon here. So there's not much protection there. But if you want to circle back to Aliens Enemies Act, now the invocation of that is wartime, invasion, that sorts of things. So when you're talking about a war, if it's a Russian and Ukraine war, that's not technically our war.
Right.
So then he would try to invoke it. He's trying to invoke it now. But we're not having a war with anybody. But to bring an example, when that was invoked during a wartime and where it impacted our citizens was during World War II, during the Japanese internment camp.
Right.
They used that war to just round up every Japanese national, Germans, Italians, and strip them of due process. And they didn't even have a chance to, be their day in court or anything. They just took everybody. And most of those people that are in the camps, they were U.S. citizens. And that's a big stain on our history. Of course, we have the biggest stain, as Marcelo know, but this is another stain on our history. And they're trying to use this law right now. That's why when you hear about the Venezuelan gang, they're invading because they're trying to use that language to make it seem like it's an invasion. There's a wartime, because, even though precedent has said it's only been used during wartime and Congress can only declare war. But as you know, George Bush didn't get the declaration of war from Congress, and we still went to Iraq. Now with Iraq, we were actually engaged in a real war there. But in your example of Ukraine and Russia, we're not in war. We are sending them money, weapons, whatnot, but we aren't fighting the war.
Gotcha.
There are some people who are saying, well, these are two that I think are good, and then we can kind of end it there. But if you're an employer, what are the potential legal consequences if you hire an undocumented worker? And I will use as an example some of the migrant workers down south. If you hire them and you knowingly know that they're undocumented,
Can you get in trouble?
Oh, you can get in trouble, but to what extent?
Gotcha.
Can you get in trouble?
Well, that just depends on who's processing the case.
That's true.
Well, if you knowingly hired undocumented workers, and obviously there's going to be fines and potential criminal charges. But how many years have we been doing this? Reagan years. They're having migrants come in. They're undocumented. Big corporations are just saying, we're fine. We need these low paying, low paid workers. So
Yes.
it comes down to discretion and enforcement. Who wants to, or you take these workers out, who's going to pick strawberries? And it's going to be like $18 a strawberry. So corporations have been getting away with this, or employers, but the rule on the book is you're not allowed to do it.
Gotcha.
So we could go with that, and if we don't have a crystal ball as how it's going to turn out, but just know that when someone wants to enforce it, they will.
It can be done, right? Okay.
Big corporations been doing it for like decades and whatnot. So that's my answer for that.
Seems like we need to have another discussion about this one.
Sounds like a hot topic.
Right, maybe at his 100-day mark.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna give you guys a time,
Yes.
30 seconds or a minute, just to let us know,
Any last words?
yeah, and how to hire you if they're looking to try to hire you.
Yep.
And that is for Theresa. I know you own an actual law firm. And then Tommy, I know that you are looking for employment in the legal field. And then we do have an influencer. An influencer nowadays are one of the biggest positions out there. So I'm going to give you guys each an opportunity to quickly let people know if they want to get more information from you or possibly hire you. How would they do so?
I could go first.
Yeah.
Okay. My name is Theresa Chanthaboury. You can either Google me or on Facebook, and all of my information will pop up. You can email me or call me or text me on the phone number that pops up.
And you speak Laos. Allow. My brother's gonna be reaching out to me. Drop an S, yo.
He's gonna get you.
My brother Thui.
Yeah, I speak Lao, and yes, I look forward to connecting and helping the Lao community. That's why I started my practice.
Awesome.
Yes. Tommy, you said you're looking for a new position, new opportunities. How would someone reach out to you if they said, "Hey, that young gentleman, he's young, he's a brand new attorney.
We want to hire him."
Yeah, we want to get him in the fold.
Yes.
Okay, I'm gonna divide this into two parts. First part is just some general advice for those watching, since we didn't cover this earlier. Usually, if you're not a U.S. citizen, if you're a permanent resident, whatever type of a resident status you are, it's really important that, and you might think you might have a court hearing or something come up in the future, or if you're waiting, processing any type of application, any type of visa, just it's important to know that every time you move, just update your address with the court. And within 10 days, but things happen. Sometimes you won't be able to update within 10 days, but as soon as possible. And one thing about law is, at least immigration law, is people might not know this, but in the U.S., states are divided by the courts. Federal courts are divided by circuits. So there's I can't remember, but like, for example, Missouri, Illinois, they're next to each other. They're not in the same circuit. So the law that the judges follow in my state is going to be different than what they follow.
Gotcha.
Next state over, even though we're neighbors.
Right.
So just a helpful summary for those watching. Update your address if you're moving as soon as possible to court, because that could change who listens to your case, and better always to be safe than sorry. And
Absolutely.
I know I'm over a minute, but if you want to look for me, I'm on Facebook, I'm on Instagram. You can type in my name. I'm on LinkedIn. If you want to email me, my email is tommyshee@gmail.com. And we can talk. I mean, I'm
Awesome.
generally very responsive.
Okay, awesome.
And Angel,
Yes, Angel.
if they want to
Well,
listen to your content, where do they
I
go?
well, it's pretty easy. It's AngelAye 555. Aye is my loud name.
Wait,
Yeah,
tell Marcelo what the 555 is for.
the number 5 in
He's
Lao
married
is
to me and he
pronounced.
doesn't even know.
The number 5 in Lao is pronounced ha. If you say it 3 times, what do you get?
What do you get?
Ha ha ha.
So instead of using LOL, I use 555. And then I'll explain what the 20s mean and the 8 mean later. But I to get a hold of me, my social media is pretty much all the same, AngelAye 555. I also on Facebook, me and Bradley created Laos is a country, not an ethnicity, and this is our 10th year anniversary. So
Awesome.
we have currently almost 43,000 followers. I got a team right now that are admins and moderators that are taking care of everything for me because it's a crucial time for me right now of everything that's going on with this young lady that we're helping out. Catch me at Sabaidi Fest. Use my promo code AngelAye555. And I'm gonna start charging y'all if y'all keep asking me the same question. My Cash App is AngelAye555. Because I'm like,
Right,
I sound like
right.
a broken record to everybody, you know. And yeah, and then
I,
and one last thing for everybody that's asking, will I get detained if I get checked in? I don't know because I'm not an immigration officer. You would have to get lawyers. No, none of us know unless you go there. We don't have answers for that. There's a lot of answers that people are asking. I mean, a lot of questions, but I don't have those answers.
Yeah.
well, I would since we have two lawyers on the podcast, I would say when we get off this podcast, I would I would recommend
Reaching out
you guys reaching out and
with your
kind of
questions.
pushing
Yeah.
information between you, Angel, and between Theresa because she's been practicing for so long.
Right. Yeah.
But I will say Sabaidi Fest last year or year before last was my first time going.
We didn't.
We didn't go to, so what did we go to?
Oh, I was a guest speaker at another festival, Lao Food Festival.
Right. I don't want to. Yeah, I don't want to disrespect
We were
Sabaidi.
going to go to
It's
Sabaidi
okay.
Fest, but it was like
Um,
something happened and we couldn't make it.
Okay.
But yeah, because it was a week apart. But yeah,
Well, thank everyone for
yes.
coming on.
Thank you so much.
It was very informative. I learned a hell of a lot, and I'm not even worried about being deported, even though, as we discussed, nothing is sacred anymore.
Yeah.
So even though he started out and kind of captured our attention initially, I think he totally screwed the pooch since then in his first 60 days because he's done things without thinking of his constituents and his citizens, um, what their feelings are. I mean, if you're going to make a wholesale life change to a family or life changing laws, or enforce things that weren't enforced before, that you have to open up and have frank discussion with your the people that you govern and reside over. And I think that's one of the biggest things that people have a problem with, even though, don't get me wrong, there are some people out there who love what's taking place. Um, But for the most part, I believe that a lot of people are concerned about how and what direction we are going, how and the ways in which we are doing these things, and who has access to all of our information.
Exactly.
So, guys, thank you so much.
Yes, thank you. Very informative.
Yes.
And like I said, if you guys have more questions, please feel free to reach out to Tommy, Theresa, or AngelAye. Ha ha ha. Now he knows what that means. He didn't even know what that meant. But yes, thank you so much for coming on. Until next time, we'll probably do like a follow-up, like you said, in about 100 days, see how everything's going at that time. But thank you, everyone. Sorry, went over a little bit, but a lot of important questions started coming in. Yeah. So we appreciate your time. I know that, it's the evening already, 8:30. So we appreciate you, Theresa, Tommy, and Angel. So you guys have a good rest of your evening.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Yeah, that was informative for me as well. And once again, like I said, I'm not too concerned right now as far as how this affects. But it is, some people harken back to the Holocaust and um, slavery as acts that led up to that mass um, horrible stain in our past as far as the USA goes. USA was slavery. With the Germans, it was, of course, the Holocaust. But these things started at a certain point and gradually went up till it got to that point
Right.
where it was a devastating situation. So you can't just say, "Oh, it doesn't affect me" or "it doesn't affect my family,"
Yeah,
because you don't know that. You don't know
exactly.
whether or not it's
Yeah.
going to
It's affecting a lot of families right now.
Yes.
Very sensitive topic, but also speaking of families, I just want to also say we usually give a little update can we give an update?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so because we did things kind of backwards a little bit, we wanted it to focus on the immigration conversation because I know that was a super hot topic. Everyone's looking forward to pretty much coming on and hearing about that. But typically, week by week, we do. For those of you who do not know, my husband, Marcelo, does have stage 4 lung cancer. And we were diagnosed. He was diagnosed.
I don't like to
Stage it.
make this
Right.
apart. So all we will say is that
We missed last week
yes,
because
I
he
have
was
cancer.
he has cancer, and we were in
there was a setback.
yes, we
We'll
had
say it
had
like
some
that.
setbacks.
But I thought you were going to talk about the book.
Yes. Yes.
It's finished. So if you guys are still looking for that, you can
Pre-order.
Yeah,
It
for
is
the rest of the week you can pre-order.
pre-order. We did, in the midst of this, we did write about our journey and our story with what we went through or still going through with the diagnosis. We were supposed to launch in February, but our new launch date is going to be on our anniversary date, right?
Yes.
Which is in a couple weeks. So you can pre-order. The link is right on my profile. Our book is called No Cancer, He's Mine. It's our fight. It's our journey, our love story, as well as our journey with life, right? With this thing that's going on that we're fighting. And I just want to say personally, thank every single person who has thought of us, who has prayed for us, who was there for me last week. So I just want to thank you.
All right, we're out of here. We're already about a half hour.
Yes, we
almost
are.
20
It's
minutes over.
8:30. Thanks for hanging on if you did stay the
Thank you,
whole
guys.
time.
Next week, I believe we are doing the African American Museum 30-year anniversary, as well as Dr. Khalid's memoir
Yes.
that was published. So we were supposed to have that from about 2 weeks ago, but that is next up. Thank you guys very much. It's crazy out there. So watch your six, be safe, protect your family.
Have you ever felt?
Are you listening? Damn.